the internet began to buzz with a completely other kind of tale. Just when fans believed that Spice's big event was going to be all about celebration, support, and positive energy, people are now speculating that the entire evening's music may have taken a disastrous turn that no one anticipated. The most recent rumors circulating online claim that Rasheeda and Karlie had one of those heated reality TV moments that suddenly alter the atmosphere in the room. And if the rumors are even somewhat accurate, this could be one of the most uncomfortable and talked about scenes related to LHHATL's 13bt yet. According to what many are saying, this was not a fleeting, shady Sadawi moment. No, the rumors circulating on the internet portray this as one of those public checkpoints where the voices become sharper, the smiles tighten, and everyone in the vicinity begins to act as though they are not paying attention, all the time listening to every word. Spice's event was meant to be her moment, her night, her limelight, and her energy, which is precisely why fans are startled. However, social media is now flooded with users repeatedly asking the same topic, rather than just discussing about Spice. What specifically prompted Rasheeda to allegedly press Karlie in front of everyone? And was this truly just that one instance? Or was there more going on here? Because you already know that tension seldom arises out of the blue. If you are familiar with this loop, history is almost always present. Beneath the surface, there are side chats, damaged egos, messy allegiance, and a hint of something I've been dying to express. And based on the rumors circulating, that might be precisely song that leaked over here. Rasheeda had every right to speak up, according to some followers. Some claim that Karlie was embarrassed and caught off guard by at the worst possible moment. There are, however, many who believe that the entire situation may have revealed group divisions that have been subtly developing for some time. What actually happened at Spic's gathering then? Why do such spectacular reports appear out of nowhere? And how did a supposedly positive evening develop into a situation where the entire fan base is taking sides? Let's discuss it. According to the outside, Spic's event was meant to be one of those nights where everyone arrived dressed to impress, grinned for the cameras, and faked, which is why this reported moment is making such a big impression online. The gang appeared to be in a far better situation than it actually was. According to the rumors that are circulating, the room was already filled with the tension of hip-hop and classic love before anything even happened. Everyone is smiling, hugging, and being cool, you know the kind of vibe. However, the side talks are too quiet, the eye contact is strange, and each compliment seems to have a secret message beneath it. Online rumors said that Spice had put a lot of effort into this event. She wanted it to feel refined, elevated, and dramatic for once, according to people. She was allegedly attempting to have one spotless moment when the spotlight remained on after all the emotional back and forth, allegiance concerns, and ongoing pressure to maintain friendships while also safeguarding her inner calm. Her event became a personal battlefield for her and no one else. However, if the rumors circulating online are accurate, that plan did not make it through the evening. The tension may have begun long before Rasheeda and Karlie were even close enough to speak, since, when you really think about this circle, the emotions never stay in one spot. According to fans who are talking about the situation, every time a new room is created, an old problem inevitably finds its way in. Someone feels excluded, someone feels disgust, someone feels abandoned, and someone is constantly certain that someone else has been making a musing behind the scenes. Additionally, Skari is said to have entered the event with preconceived notions of her own. According to some spectators, Karlie had been projecting an air of being unconcerned, but she wasn't really successful. She was chatting too quickly, smiling too much, and moving from person to person as if she was attempting to control the space rather than simply enjoy it. And if you're familiar with the dynamics of reality TV groups, you'll always detect that kind of movement in music. People notice it right away, especially the women who have known you long enough to be able to tell when you're not feeling well before you even say anything. People on the internet are speculating that Rasheeda might have detected that change early. The fact that fans don't think Rasheeda was merely responding to one isolated incident adds to the intrigue of this purported circumstance. Many believe she might have been agitated before the event even started. Not loudly, not in a table-flipping manner, but in that cool, collected manner. I'm not about to keep letting this slide, which usually ends up being way more dangerous. When Rasheeda gets to calm, that's when somebody needs to worry. And honestly, that sums up the whole tone of what people think was happening here. because Rasheeda is not usually the type to explode for no reason. If she checked Karlie the way people are saying, then fans are assuming there had to be something under the surface pushing her to that point. And according to all the online breakdowns, one of the biggest possibilities is that this may have been about loyalty, because friendships always get ugly. People are now speculating that there may have been tension building over off-camera conversations, private opinions that sent back to the wrong people, and instances where one person felt like another was playing both sides while trying to stay cool with everyone. This theory gained significant traction when fans started going over past exchanges and subtle moments from earlier episodes and interviews. Suddenly, people were pointing out every awkward pause, every sideway. Every little thing becomes evidence once the internet goes into detective mode. One commenter stated, "I always felt like Rasheeda tolerated Karlie more than trusted her. Karlie always acts like she wants to be everyone's friend until it blows up," another person said. The point is that fans are not interpreting this purported altercation as random, regardless of whether that is fair or not. People are reading it like a pressure cooker finally cracking open. And if these reports are even close to being accurate, then the alleged moment itself was less about volume and more about impact. Because, according to what people are saying, Rasheeda did not need to scream to make the room go cold. Instead, simply got direct. The kind of direct that instantly changes the air because everyone can tell something real is being said. People on the internet are picturing it as one of those scenes where the music is still playing and drinks are still moving, but the people closest to suddenly become extremely still. And if you've seen enough group drama unfold, you know that those are the moments that hit hardest, not the big blow-ups at the beginning. The low, sharp exchanges, where the message lands before the volume even rises. According to the way fans are describing it, the purported problem may have begun with something minor, such as a clever remark or an oddly timed joke. If Karlie did say or do something that offended Rasheeda in front of the wrong people, that could explain why this whole thing allegedly happened in such a public way, because that is another detail people cannot stop talking about. If this really went down the way reports are making it sound, then it happened in front of everybody. And that is what makes it sting more. Perhaps one of those little "I'm just saying" remarks. That sounds harmless unless there is already bad blood underneath it. It's one thing to be checked in private. It's quite another to be checked in a room full of friends, cameras, cast energy, and people pretending not to stare. Fans are shocked not only because of the alleged confrontation itself, but also because of what it symbolizes. For many viewers, a public check indicates that the private patience has already been lost. If is where Rasheeda was emotionally in this purported moment, then it says a lot about how long this may have been building. Let's be honest, that would also explain why the room allegedly reacted the way people are describing. According to online chatter, the vibe around them changed quickly, and some people supposedly became quiet. This indicates that someone feels like they have already tried being nice, tried being subtle, tried letting little things pass. And now they are at the point. Spice's role in all of this becomes even more uncomfortable because imagine trying to host your own event. Imagine trying to keep everything smooth, and then suddenly, to women with history and tension, start turning your night into a loyalty test. Others reportedly tried to laugh it off at first, like maybe it wasn't that serious. But the moment it became clear that Rasheeda wasn't joking, the entire mood allegedly changed. This is precisely the reason why fans keep speculating that Spice might have been placed in one of the worst possible situations. When drama rises in your space, it becomes more than just their problem. It becomes your atmosphere, your guest list, your night, your stress, your stress. Some people on the internet even claim that this purported situation may have irritated Spice more than anyone realized, because, from her perspective, it could have appeared that her event was being hijacked by unresolved issues that had nothing to do with. Because of this, a lot of fans are calling this purported moment bigger than it looks. On the surface, it sounds like one woman checking another, but underneath that, people are seeing bruised trust, fragile alliances, and the kind of group fracture that can spread quickly once it finally shows itself in public. If the rumors are correct, that is exactly what this night may have exposed. And if that tension was already present in the room, as people are describing it, then it makes sense why everything allegedly escalated the moment the conversation became more direct. Because, according to online chatter, what really pushed the situation into a full moment was not just what was said, but also how it was said and who was standing close enough to hear it. Fans who claim to have seen clips or heard breakdowns from people present keep saying that Karlie did not react the way people expected, instead of responding right away, and that pause, according to viewers, made the situation feel even more intense. That pause said everything, an admirer commented. It wasn't a joke, she knew. You could tell she was caught off guard, remarked another. And whether that is true or not, that's how the internet is interpreting the current moment. However, based on the rumors circulating, Karlie did not remain silent for very long. People are claiming that she finally responded, not necessarily loud, but defensive. The kind of tone where someone is trying to defend themselves without making things worse even, though the situation is already getting out of control. And that's where emotions run high. Because once both sides start speaking with that energy, it stops being one person addressing something and turns into a back and forth that everyone in the room can feel. Rasheeda allegedly did not back down from her point. One individual who described the event remarked, "It felt like Rasheeda had been waiting for this." Fans feel she remained firm, making it plain that whatever her problem was, she was not going to let it slip any longer. Another said, Karlie appeared to be surprised by how it turned out, especially not there. From the outside, it appeared as though one person had already processed their frustration while the other was still attempting to comprehend what was happening in real time. When those two energies clash, it rarely ends smoothly, which is why people believe that this difference in readiness made the exchange even more uncomfortable. People in their immediate vicinity allegedly began responding in different ways. Some reportedly tried to diffuse the situation by making light-hearted remarks or nervously laughing, hoping to diffuse the tension before it got worse. Others are said to have completely retreated and decided not to get involved at all, which says a lot in and of itself, because when a group that typically gets involved in everything suddenly becomes quiet, it usually means the situation feels too real to joke about. And then there's the part where fans are unable to stop debating. Did anyone try to intervene and put an end to it? According to some online discussions, a few people might have tried to change the topic, reroute the energy, or at the very least move one of them away before things got out of hand. However, others think that nobody really wanted to get involved because both Rasheeda and Karlie have strong personalities, and intervening in such a situation can backfire quickly. One fan commented, "No one wanted to pick a side in that moment. You could sense it in the music. Everyone was watching, but nobody wanted to be next," someone else wrote. And that hesitation added to the overall tension, making the alleged exchange feel even more exposed. What makes this even more interesting is how quickly the situation reportedly spread beyond that immediate circle. Because word travels fast in rooms like that, even if only a few people were standing close enough to hear everything clearly. By the time the moment cooled down, people were already whispering about what had just happened. You know how it goes. One person tells two, those to tell five, and suddenly half the room has their own version of the story before the night is even over. This is precisely why fans think the situation began to gain momentum before it even reached social media. According to some reports, Karlie may have attempted to brush it off afterward, acting as though it wasn't as serious as people were making it seem. But others claimed she looked visibly bothered, as if the moment stuck with her more than she wanted to show. However, Rasheeda is said to have maintained her composure, not chasing the moment or dragging it further once she made her point. According to fans, made the situation hit even harder because sometimes the most powerful statement is not continuing the argument, but ending it on your own terms and letting the room sit with it. One viewer commented, "She said what she needed to say and left it there." In all honesty, that kind of mixed reaction only fuels speculation even more. It became real because of that. She wasn't music, another person said. She was serious. However, the night did not simply reset after that. According to what people are saying, the energy of the event never fully recovered. This perception is what has many people leaning toward the idea that this was not just random drama, but something that had been quietly building up. A single moment can take over an entire event, even though the music continued to play and people continued to mingle. Conversations changed. Some people stayed in smaller groups, others reportedly kept bringing up the situation, trying to get more details, trying to understand both sides of what just happened. Because once something like that occurs, it becomes the night's story. No matter what else happens, no matter how many performances, speeches, or celebrations take place, that one interaction becomes what everyone remembers. And that's exactly what fans think happened here. By the time people left, there were already several versions of the story circulating, according to the chatter, some of which made Rasheeda appear justified. As usual, it probably sits somewhere in the middle. However, once social media got involved, that middle ground started to disappear quickly because the second clip's reactions and commentary started hitting timelines. Others made Karlie appear taken aback. Some exaggerated the moment into something bigger than it may have been. Others downplayed it like it was just a quick exchange, blown out of proportion. And the truth, the alleged situation at Spik's event changed from being merely a room issue to a full-fledged online fan war. Once people began taking sides, you already know what happens next. The situation officially moved from a private moment in a public space to a full online narrative. Everyone suddenly had an opinion, and it wasn't just a casual one either. People were arguing as if they were in the room themselves, with one side claiming that Rasheeda had every right to speak up if she felt disrespected, and the other claiming that Karlie was unfairly pressured at someone else's event and placed in a terrible public position. Once those two narratives gained traction, there was no stopping this story. The fact that fans were responding to this one purported moment by bringing years' worth of opinions into it, old clips, old friendships, old betrayals, old arguments, old side-eye moments, made it even more messy. Suddenly, people weren't just wondering what happened that night. They were also wondering who had been a fake for the longest. One admirer wrote, "This was not about one comment," at which point the situation became even more passionate. "This has to do with accumulated annoyance. You can only smile for so long before you finally say something," another person remarked. And if that's how Rasheeda supposedly felt, many listeners believe they know exactly why she would have decided to cease being courteous at that particular time. However, there is also the Karlie side of the debate. And to be honest, that side is just as intense, because many people think that Karlie frequently finds herself in situations where she is made the face of drama that has deeper roots than what she is actually responsible for. Supporters of Karlie claim that she may have entered Spice's event thinking things were cool enough, only to discover in front of everyone that someone had obviously been holding onto a problem for a while. One supporter stated, "Rasheeda had a problem before the occasion. Why not announce it?" And if these reports are accurate, Karlie might have felt less like she was being confronted and more like she was being made an example out of. That kind of feeling changes everything. That question has been around a lot because it gets to the heart of why public confrontations hit so differently. It's not just what is said, it's where and when it gets said. Because when a situation feels humiliating, rather than just honest, the emotional fallout gets much bigger. Now, it's not just about the problem itself. It's about pride, embarrassment, and how you looked in front of a room full of people who will undoubtedly talk about it later. And if Karlie felt cornered in that way, snorts that could explain why fans believe her reaction after the fact. It might have been more emotional than she initially let on. Online users are even speculating that the purported exchange might have followed her into the remainder of the evening in ways that the cameras were unable to capture. Awkward exchanges, whispered check-ins, and friends asking, "Are you okay?" The moment itself may only last a few minutes, but the emotional mess it leaves behind can last the entire night. People forget about public tension at that point while pretending not to ask too many questions. If that's the case, Spice was allegedly placed in a very awkward middle position. Imagine trying to keep your event together while two women in your circle are suddenly carrying this heavy energy through the room.